All right, so we will call the meeting to order at 9:30. And do we want to take roll call?
Chair Sorgman,
Here.
Vice Chair Marston,
Here.
Committee Member Chen,
Here.
Committee Member Kovich,
Here.
Committee Member Kuntz,
Here.
Committee Member Rassler,
Here.
Committee Member Tejada. We acknowledge Committee Member Tejada won't be able to attend. Council Member Oscar Gutierrez, Brian Demore,
Here.
John Doimus, and Sarita King.
Here.
All right. So the next item are committee member reports and staff announcements. So do we want to do staff announcements first, or?
If you have any items, you can go first. That'll give me time to think if there's any staff announcements.
Right. So Barbara, you want to go ahead and?
Okay. Thank you. Oh, this is on? Okay. Okay, I have a few quick ideas. First, for the city website, I have this, I'd like to suggest creating a direct link from the homepage to the accessibility page. So from the homepage, there's a bunch of buttons that with direct links to various areas, library and things like that. I'd like to create one for the accessibility page, or I'd like somebody, a suggestion, to make it more user-friendly. Also, I would like to create a resource directory, a comprehensive resource directory for disabled services and organizations that provide services to the disabled community or people who are seriously ill. This would be a long-term project for me. I am also interested in a comprehensive visitor's guide to accessible places and services and venues and everything, in Santa Barbara that would be of interest to the accessible tourism market, as well as perhaps locals too. Also, just FYI, I did go see Cabrillo Pavilion and noticed that the motorized wheelchair is out of order, just to let you know. And also the boardwalk there that goes over the sand has been dismantled. And I'd also was thinking that the Cabrillo Pavilion website has not been updated yet, and I recommend including the wheelchair, the beach wheelchair and walker, and the boardwalk under amenities, because there's nothing mentioned right now on the website. I was also thinking it would be great for the beach wheelchairs and the beach walker that are inside, if there could be a sign outside the building to let people know, visitors or anybody who needs it, where they are, and that the fact that they are inside the building, because a lot of people, I talked to a couple people, and they didn't even know that the wheelchairs were inside, and from the outside, you can't actually see the wheelchair and the walker. From when you're standing outside, you have to be inside before you can see them. So if there's a sign directing people, a directional sign, that would be great. Also, I would like to suggest this idea of having a beach access mat at Ledbetter Beach from the path of travel all the way down to the water. I have a sample of one that I printed out. It's not the only maker of, only producer of access mats, but according this one says they are saltwater safe, so they're safe to go into the water, and it's would be something simple. It just goes over the sand. It doesn't need installation. It's basically made of polyester. It's like a tarp that goes out over, and similar to the one I think at Carpinteria Beach, and something that people who need to provide accessible access to people who need access to the beach, or people who have strollers or something like that. So that's my suggestion. Anyone who's interested in looking at this can, I'm happy to show them afterwards. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a comment. Is my mic on?
Yep.
Is it on now?
Yes.
Okay. The last time I was at the pavilion, I was looking at the Doom wheelchairs, and I walked outside, and there was a younger couple there with an older fella in a wheelchair. And I said, do you know there's a beach wheelchair right there? And of course they said no. So I mean, they're like 10 feet away from it and didn't even know it was there. So good point. But it needs to be advertised better. By the way, I talked to the head of Parks and Recs and told her that the motorized was not in service. So anyway, thank you.
I just wanted to voice support of all of these ideas, things I've thought about in the past, and hesitant to take on. It seems like a lot of work, but maybe I can help out. What was
I would appreciate any advice that you can provide, or any help in any way that you could provide, and I would love to talk to you.
okay? On that note, on that theme, I have this kind of growing sense that part of town there, between what will soon be the Gwendolyn Park accessible playground and the pavilion, which is newly renovated with accessibility, and the beach boardwalk, that is and the zoo, which is not without its accessibility challenges, but is pretty accessible considering its geographic constraints. That's kind of like a hub for accessible tourism here in Santa Barbara. And it's unfortunate that we don't have permanent public transportation to that part of town. There's a regional shuttle loop, but tourism's year-round. So that's a related issue that I would like to continue to pursue, making sure we can get...
I don't mean to interrupt, but I love that idea of having accessible, like an accessible shuttle
Yeah.
to that area, to some central area. I
And it
support
would be
that
great if
wholeheartedly.
we could get one of those hotels there to recognize the opportunity and increase their number of wheelchair accessible rooms. I think that would really help promote more accessible tourism here in the city of Santa Barbara.
And that's a great idea. Thank you.
So
Thank you,
first of all, I just want to thank Barbara as our newest member for just the energy that she has, spent, and the time that she's invested in trying to take a look at these things. So I want to recognize that and thank you for that. And then just a couple of these things actually we had discussed we had a meeting, was it on Wednesday, to talk about the fact that a lot of the things that the city has done that the public doesn't necessarily know. I shared the information about the boardwalk that people were not aware that that's available, and that's really too bad. And many of the features, the accessibility work that's been done, the city doesn't, it's not the city's job, or they don't do it well, I'm not sure which, of advertising what they've accomplished. And so trying to get that information out to the public so that they know that these features are available is really something that we probably need to work on. Barbara also made some inroads with a local travel agency that's been in Goleta for 35 years or
40.
40 years that specifically deals with tourism and accessibility.
Accessible tourism. That's their
Accessible-
niche. They only deal in accessible tourism.
And so somehow, if we could be able to work with them to figure out how do we let public know that these features are there, that the city's accomplished, that are available for a large part of our population. It's just, no one knows about it. And so, again, thank you for all of this work. We did speak about that specifically at this Wednesday meeting. We did make the city aware that the wheelchair, or what is that called? With
Motorized.
The motorized for the beach use wasn't working. We talked about signage and doing a better job of having the public know that these amenities are available. So maybe it's, a few of us that get together to brainstorm how do we encourage the city to somehow advertise itself, and we can connect up with this organization that specifically deals with tourism, accessible tourism, because the city's all about tourism, and if we can encourage others to take advantage of that and have more visitors that are coming to town because these services are available. And you're totally right about this connection that we're going to have with the Gwendolyn Park, the zoo, and the Cabrillo Arts Center, that will have accessible features that can be used by many. The boardwalk was dismantled for weather reasons. It'll be put back. When will it be put back again?
Before Labor Day, they said,
Before Labor Day? Okay.
or Memorial Day.
Memorial, it should be around Memorial Day.
Yeah. So
Memorial
it was.
Day.
Yeah. So it was taken down because of weather, so that there wouldn't be damage. So
The winter storms.
the winter storms. So, but it'll be back. And so, thank you again for bringing all of these things up, and we'll see if we can work on them.
And I
Thank
want to make
you.
one more comment about public transit. There's actually 2 bus lines that go there. The 20 that goes to Carpinteria stops right there at the pavilion, and also line 14 that goes to Montecito.
Oh.
They both have stops right near the pavilion, and if you cross the street on Los Niños, I think it's called, there's a stop to go back to town. So there are
Okay.
2 public transit stops right nearby there.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else? Any other members have something to add? Nope. All right, then.
Thanks, Barbara.
Staff report?
Staff announcement, just one thing real quick. I did send out an email to the committee seeing availability for Friday, June 16th for a special meeting where we would like to have a presentation on the draft State Street Master Plan. We've heard from some members of the committee.
Sorry, was that June 26th?
It was June 26th.
What are the rules these days on people coming by Zoom?
That is a good question, and I'm not going to try to answer that right now for
Okay.
fear of getting it wrong.
Okay, as I am someone who's unavailable in person for that day, but I could try to make Zoom work.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, as long as we have a quorum, I mean, you could
Same.
at least watch it live on Zoom. As far as participating, I
submit
think that's where I'm
comments, yeah.
not sure.
Yeah. Like, or submit comments ahead of time, maybe. Yeah.
Do you know if you have quorum yet?
I don't, because I haven't heard from enough members of the committee yet. But it was just a reminder to reply to that email so we can,
I totally missed it, so I'm sorry.
that's okay. That's why I figured I
you.
would
I was
remind.
I don't remember that email.
It was
We all-
about like 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
Okay, so maybe I haven't seen it. I'm
That's
not sure.
possible. We all get too many
Just remind me,
emails.
like, is there anyone who can't make it besides Skylar? June 26th?
I don't see a conflict.
It is a Friday, and it would probably be similar time as we normally meet, 9:30.
Okay.
All right,
Alright.
I'll check my calendar.
That's all I had.
All right. Do we have any public comment? All right, I don't see anyone or do we have any, we don't have a Zoom,
None
right?
online.
None online, okay. All right, so then we go to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes. And I have a recommendation from any board member to go ahead and approve those?
So moved.
All right, Michael, do we have a second?
I actually have a comment before we vote.
Okay,
I ask that my concerns regarding parks be formally noted on the record and before my comments were made. And I don't see those on the minutes, and I'd like the minutes to reflect that.
Do you, in the video?
So there is a link to the video, and you can see that I explicitly asked, let the record reflect that we have been asking for this for a long time, and it hasn't happened. And I would like that to be a part of the record.
All right.
Asking for what specifically? I kind of remembered, but
I don't want to misquote myself. I had prepared a statement that I would like to have seen in the record. It's accessible through the video link, and I'm requesting that we hold off voting on accepting these minutes until that's on the record.
So I just want to mention, as far as the way minutes typically work for city council and for city boards and committees, they're typically what are considered like action minutes. So it summarizes the items that were discussed, just oftentimes simply in title. That, like today, we have a recommendation that Access Advisory Committee receive an update from staff regarding the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So the minutes are going to say that the committee received an update from staff regarding the Parks and Rec Master Plan. It's pretty simple, because as soon as you go beyond that, it's like, then you end up just having to dictate the whole entire meeting. It's hard to find an in-between on that. And now that things are recorded, that is part of the record. There is a video, and that can be played back and watched. But that's just typical of how the minutes look, whether it's city council meeting or any board or committee, and not trying to make sure we've written down every time somebody says, make sure that gets included in the minutes.
So I think what I'm hearing is Nick just wants it to reflect that there was a comment about Parks and Rec.
Correct. Because this has come up so many times over so many years, and it just gets lost. And if I wanted to go back and try to quantify how many times I've brought that up over how many years, it's not easily findable. I would have to go watch every video of every, and I want it to be surfaced via search on the website, and that's why I want to see it referenced in the minutes.
So is there any issue with us just amending and asking that the fact that there was a comment made about Parks and Rec be included in the minutes?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
And also a link to the time zone on the video.
That is actually there.
In the minutes?
Yeah, in the minutes, on the electronic record, if you're viewing it on the website, you can click on committee member reports, and that's right there.
but you want it in the written minutes?
But there is no indication on the agenda that that's in the committee member report, is the thing.
That's
So
what I'm saying.
if you know where to look, you can find it.
Right.
But
The
if,
minutes could just say what time to look on the video.
so, just so I'm clear, there is a line item on the minutes for committee member reports.
Right.
And if you know that I made this report, you can jump right to it. But if you don't know that I've made this report, it doesn't show up as something to drill down on, and I would like it to.
Would it be possible to amend the minutes where appropriate, and each of them has it, hyperlink to video of it, of agenda item, comma, including comments from committee member Nick Kuntz on the appropriate one?
I don't necessarily want it to reflect that I made the comments, but the subject matter.
Okay.
So if
Including, a hyperlink to video of agenda item, including comments regarding Parks and Recreation.
okay, yeah.
I'm just trying to find a
Yeah,
middle ground where.
and I would say
it could be
Parks and
simplified.
Recreation, processes regarding construction. Put it into a little bit clearer context.
All right, so Michael, do you want to amend your motion?
Sure, I'll amend that to include, as was just stated by Nick.
All right.
I'll let staff handle the wording of that.
All right.
But the simplest form is, after the appropriate hyperlinked video of, and it should be of this agenda item, comma, whichever one of those, A through G it is, and then, including comments regarding parks and recreation, construction
Processes.
processes.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got an amended motion to approve the minutes with that correction. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, so all those in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any noes? No? All right. So that passes. All right, so then we move on to the next item, which is the Parks and Rec Master Plan.
Morning.
Let's see, I'm going to figure this out first. Good morning. My name's Bronwyn Bradbury. I'm with Parks and Recreation, and I'm working on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Thank you so much for having us here today. We really appreciate this opportunity to meet with the Access Advisory Committee. We're here to share an overview of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan and get your guidance on outside stakeholder groups to include in our community engagement process. We're specifically looking for groups that support accessibility and inclusion in the context of recreation. So the city is developing a Parks and Recreation Master Plan to help guide the long-term future of our parks, recreation facilities, programs, and services. The plan will inventory and assess existing facilities and programs, identify community needs and priorities, and provide a roadmap for how to improve and invest in our system over the next 10 to 20 years. The system of facilities covered by the plan includes 64 parks and 21 community buildings. These facilities support public recreation and city programs and events, including sports and fitness programs, summer and school year camps, and community programs and events. The master plan will evaluate community needs and provide a roadmap for the future of our parks and recreation system. With this plan, we're really aiming to address what residents want to see in the future of their system. As part of the master plan process, the city is launching a robust community engagement effort to ensure the plan reflects the community's needs, priorities, and aspirations. We aim to reach a broad cross-section of the population to better understand their diverse experiences, needs, barriers, and aspirations. The community engagement effort will include information booths at community events and pop-up events in parks. It will include stakeholder interviews and focus group meetings, and community meetings and surveys. The information we gather through these various activities will help inform the recommendations in the draft master plan. The key stakeholders we aim to reach are residents of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds across the city. As part of this effort, we are engaging organized stakeholder groups that support key communities that use our Parks and Recreation system. We're especially interested in reaching stakeholder groups that support accessibility and inclusion, particularly in the context of recreation. We've compiled a preliminary list of these stakeholder groups, and I'll just run through what those are so you can know who's already on our list. We have Access Central Coast, Alpha Resource Center of Santa Barbara, Blind Fitness of Santa Barbara Special Needs Adaptive Programs, and the Grace Fisher Foundation. We're here today to get your recommendations for other outside stakeholder groups we should include in this process. At this time, our focus is reaching out to community members and organized stakeholder groups. We plan to present the master plan to city commissions, councils, and committees in the October-November timeframe. But in the case of the Access Advisory Committee, we came early so we could get your thoughts on specific outside stakeholder groups that we should include during this outreach effort. For any specific stakeholders you'd like for us to include, we'd love for you to provide a specific contact at the organization and their email or phone number so that we can reach out to them. And I'm going to give you an email address here so you can email those to us. Our main email for this effort is prmp@santabarbaraca.gov. So that's PRMP for Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
Okay.
PRMP.
Can I ask that staff distribute this contact information via email after the meeting? Sure. Thank you.
At santabarbaraca.gov.
So for the ones that are already on the list, does that mean that you've had some contact already?
We have not reached out to stakeholder groups yet.
Okay.
Right now, we're putting together our list.
Okay, because I'm on the board of Blind Fitness, so there's overlap there. And
Right.
yeah, that's definitely the main one for the blind community when it comes to recreation.
Okay, great. Yeah, and we are really kicking off our outreach campaign June 1st. So if you can get these suggestions in by the end of the month, that would be great. So that's everything we have for you, and we will go ahead and make sure the email address gets sent out, but it's prmp@santabarbaraca.gov.
I want to
questions?
share a potential partner in this effort, not so much a stakeholder, but I've recently become more aware of and getting involved with a local nonprofit called Nature Tracks, and they provide accessible, what do we call them? OPDMDs, the other powered mobility devices. It's a kind of a tank tread cassette that you can mount your own personal manual wheelchair on, and they can go just about anywhere. And this organization provides these to the public free of charge. They have staff that brings them out, unloads them wherever you want. They do demonstrations at Aurora Borough. And I understood that they reached out to the city and wanted to support the city's summer camp program and provide free of charge and staff support for accessible beach wheelchairs to support youth at summer camps. And they were told there's no interest. And I was really disappointed to hear that, because, and I don't know why we would not want to take advantage of this wonderful free resource that's anxious to serve our community. If not in the summer camps, but maybe as a part of the master plan to provide more accessibility to more of Santa Barbara's outdoor space.
Great, thank you for your comment.
I have a couple of comments. I think one of the things that's disappointing, and I worked for the city for 17 years in the building department, was the very poor job that the city did of getting the word out ahead of time to stakeholders. And I mean, I would go to the Franklin Center and there would be 5 people and 4 of them would be Anglo and I'd be the only Hispanic person there. Because somehow they didn't go to the radio stations or the churches to let people know, hey, this is an opportunity for you to voice concerns or express support or direction for whatever, I think one of them was on housing or something. And so it's all of this work that staff does, but then no one is in charge of trying to get the word out, and very few people show up, so that you don't really get a clear direction from the community as to what the needs are. And so, I mean, I'm just not sure how, what we need to do a better job of getting words out to different community organizations, whether they're the school districts, religious communities, the boys and girls clubs, to just say, hey, these events are happening, and give the community sufficient time so that they can make arrangements to be able to participate, or if they can't go, to at least be able to write a letter or an email to say, hey, these are our concerns, because we're not hearing from the public as to really what they may need, because they're working 2 jobs or they're not able to communicate to the city what they would like to see. And this is such an important job. I am amazed that when you said 64 parks, 64 parks, that's incredible, and 21 community buildings. That's, for a community this size, it's just it's wonderful, but we also need to connect with everyone to make sure that we hear all voices. So please hire someone or do something to get the word out so that we participate and give you guys direction.
I would,
And if I can respond briefly, the good news here is we actually have a huge number of events planned for exactly that purpose. We have something like 60 pop-up and community events where we're going to take our pop-up out to say, this is what's happening. We have our materials in English and in Spanish. And we do have one person on the team who speaks Spanish fluently, so she's been engaging with people also. So through the June and July, we will have all sorts of pop-up events to really be seen out in the community, letting people know about it. We'll also use our media channels to let people know. And then in August and September is when we're really going to be doing those main community meetings and the main survey. So we'll certainly make sure that gets out in City News and Brief and other formats so that people are aware of it. But hopefully over the next couple of months, people will be signing up so they get the email when
Right.
the big survey is live.
Or like, even if this person who speaks Spanish, let them go to the radio stations that predominantly serve the Hispanic community.
Yeah.
And TV advertising, not advertising, but being interviewed by the local TV stations about, hey, the city's doing this, and we've got 64 parks. I don't know that people are aware that there's 64 parks. And so we want your input. I mean, I think that would be great. Thank you so much. This sounds like an incredible, wonderful project.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have anything to say?
Just curious if you can find out why the parks said we had no interest in having the beach wheelchair access, as Nick talked about.
Right, I'm not familiar with the issue, but I can look into it.
Okay.
I do have a question. I know usually you hear from the committee, but you talked about going to other boards and committees in like the fall. I assume the plan would be also to come back to this committee.
Correct.
With more detail about the plan and what you've heard from the community. So what can they expect next?
So at that one, we'll probably go into a lot more detail about what we're trying to achieve as the plan, more information about the systems, so that people can understand what sort of comments we're looking for, because that's a lot of what we want to build up towards for those community meetings. And that would be a really good time to chime in with things that we might be missing or more things, recommendations that you want to make for what you want to see in the park system. So August, September is when we're really hearing from the community, October, November from councils and so forth about what do people want to see in the future of our system and what concerns they have, what needs do they have.
So when we get to that point, then I would, really strongly encourage the city to hire CASP, someone who specializes in recreation, but has the background in accessibility needs and requirements, so that when you're working on a project, from the get-go what's going to be triggered, path of travel, equipment that's accessible, certain percentages of whatever is in that park needs to be accessible. So if you hire someone who knows ahead of time, they can help guide and hopefully ensure that there's lesser mistakes made. And the mistakes are going to be made because it's a very specialized field, but you just can accommodate so much more and spend money wisely rather than having to come back and fix something.
Can I ask also, when is the website going to be updated with all these like pop-up events that you have coming up and the surveys and things like that you plan?
Right, we do have a website live right now. It doesn't
Okay.
have the timing for the events yet. We will definitely be posting all the community events. Pop-ups might be more casual where we're just getting the word out. But we will definitely have the big community events, the
Yeah.
August, September ones, all on there with the dates and times for people to attend. And we're doing those all around town. There's 7, I believe, around town and one that's online.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
One last thing, sorry. You may have said this, but what is the time frame for completion? And it's hard to tell, right? Because depends what kind of feedback you get, and you may have to go back and forth with council. But what is the expected time frame to complete for adoption of the plan?
Right. Well, we're looking towards the draft master plan, so about a year from now. So we want to get all the public feedback and then bring that together about what sort of recommendations we want to make. And then once we get to that phase, we'll have a draft master plan, which will also go through the community process.
Can I ask one last question? Is there any overlap between your plan and the waterfront adaptation plan?
I think inherently there's overlaps because what they're planning to do will influence what sort of amenities people want to have in the parks or what amenities we're planning to have in the parks. And those are part of the park system, so there definitely will be some overlap there.
All right, then, thank you so
Great.
much.
Thank you very much.
All right, so then we are on to item number 6, which is the waterfront adaptation plan update.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present today on the city's waterfront adaptation plan.
So can I just stop you for a
Yeah.
second? So can you describe for the members that are blind what you've projected in just a brief description?
Yeah, right now, I mean, it's just the title page of the PowerPoint.
Right, so it's an ocean view.
Yeah, there's an ocean view of, I believe that's East Beach on our title slide.
All right, so if you can just do that for each one so that they know what we're looking at?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
So say my name is Timmy Bolton, Senior Climate Adaptation Analyst and Project Manager for this work effort. I'm also joined here today by Michael Wells, who is City's Climate Adaptation Analyst and project member of this team. My presentation today will begin by quickly setting the context for how this project fits into the city's overall program to address climate hazards. We'll then run through our recent understanding of what those hazards are both today and in the future, and then spend really the bulk of the presentation talking about some initial ideas we have on how to address those hazards, quickly run through next steps, then have a discussion, and we also have a photo here, axonometric of East Beach. Beautiful day, ocean in the background. So the city is unique in that we have a dedicated adaptation and resilience program with 3 full-time staff whose purpose is to work collaboratively with teams throughout the city organization to help our community prepare for current and future climate-related hazards like sea level rise, flooding, erosion, and wildfire. On this slide, we have some graphics that show those types of impacts: flooding in our city, flooding from the ocean, damage to the yacht club, as well as a wildland fire in our foothills. We're actively working on several major work efforts that are primarily the highest priority implementation items from the city's 2021 Sea Level Rise Adaptation Plan. This includes doing a regional coastal monitoring project with our partners at Beacon. It includes preparing our wastewater and water infrastructure for all climate hazards. It includes improving the resilience of the Laguna watershed and flooding from the rain, as well as doing a climate adaptation plan at the airport, and there's a graphic that shows the Ledbetter parking lot covered in sand. Our other major work effort is the Waterfront Adaptation Plan, which is the focus of our presentation today. It's funded by the California Coastal Commission, the California Coastal Conservancy, as well as the city. Our guiding light and vision for this work effort is to develop practical solutions to address coastal flooding and coastal erosion for at least the next 30 years while enhancing beach access, recreation, boating, and habitat. In the background, there's another bucolic photo of East Beach. This is about a
Jim, I wanted to make a
Hold on.
comment during the public comment, and I didn't get called on, and it's becoming.
Would you like me to pause, or what's the appropriate procedure here?
No, you can just keep going. We have a very old member who still wants to be active.
Sure, okay. So this is about a 3-year work effort. We find ourselves about halfway through it. We did some initial community engagement in the first portion of last year, then did a big effort to do new technical modeling and analysis to better understand what our hazard risks are today and what they'll be in the future. We're now at that exciting juncture where we're beginning to put pen to paper to screen the big spectrum of options of the things that we could do to reduce hazard risks down to a more limited suite of options that we're considering carrying forward in the process. I really want to emphasize that we're at the beginning of about a year-long process to build towards recommendations and an ultimate recommended approach and design solutions. So the reason why we're here today is really to get early input before we bake the cake. We want to make sure we're considering the right things as we start building towards recommended approaches. Our project area is the 3-mile coastal portion of our city that spans from Ledbetter Beach to the Clark Estate. It's one of the city's most valued public assets, supporting beaches, parks, commercial working harbor, Stearns Wharf, transportation, all sorts of infrastructure. It's really a cornerstone of our local economy with about $100 million in recreational value, plays a big part in the county's $7.7 billion blue economy, as well as the South Coast $2.2 billion tourism market. Because of its location and its elevation, it's a place that's particularly vulnerable to coastal storms, coastal erosion, and flooding. And this graphic is a satellite image of our waterfront. For this project, we are primarily focused on 2 broad categories of hazard impacts. The first is the area where waves are actively crashing and causing damage, and the second is the inland flooding that occurs from the ocean. Flooding from rain events is primarily being tackled in other work efforts. Today, we face both types of those hazard impacts. As shown on this slide, we have big waves bashing against our infrastructure, as represented by a photo of our harbor breakwater being hit by waves. We've experienced our parking lots collapsing into the ocean. There's a photo of the Harbor West parking lot collapsing into the ocean. We've also experienced flooding and our parking lots getting covered in sand, as shown in a photo of the Ledbetter parking lot covered in sand and flooded, as well as flooding in the harbor commercial area itself. We've included a graphic on this slide of that paradigm. Fundamentally, it's not sustainable for us as a city to spend $3 million in cleanup and repair from a single large coastal storm like we did in 2023, which is a core reason why we're doing this work effort. As part of this project, we took a deep dive to evaluate how our shoreline has changed over time, and what we found is that each beach has been eroding significantly. Certain stretches of it relative to the year 2000 have been eroding about 5 feet each year, which is a high amount. We have a graphic on this slide showing East Beach from an aerial view during a king tide event this past November. And what we experienced during that condition is that the ocean was right up to the ice plant and in some cases spilled up and over onto the adjacent bike path. This is important because it means not only over time as the shoreline is migrating inland are we losing access to the recreational value of that sandy beach, but that as the shoreline has moved inland, so too has the risk of hazard impacts to the area around it. So what we mean by that is that the inland portion of our cities are far more likely to flood around East Beach today than certainly they were 20 to 25 years ago. There are different dynamics along our coast. During the same period, Ledbetter was a relatively stable beach and West Beach actually grew a bit. When we look forward in time, we see that our risk profile will only evolve, and with continued sea level rise, our challenges will grow. As a quick data point, we've experienced 3 to 4 inches of local sea level rise relative to the year 2000. We've included a graphic of future sea level rise projections that show the rate and value of sea level rise accelerating and increasing in the coming years. As part of this project, we took an analysis to see how our shoreline will evolve over time and what will happen with continued sea level rise. What we found is that Ledbetter will no longer be a stable beach. It will begin to erode a bit, and we anticipate losing most of that sandy beach by about the year 2075. East Beach has this challenging erosion condition today. When you add in additional sea level rise on top of that, the challenge grows. We anticipate losing the sandy beach by about 2065 or so, and that entire area could erode all the way back to Cabrillo Boulevard by about the year 2075. West Beach, in contrast, begins to show some erosion, but it remains wide and sandy, including well beyond the 30-year focus of this work effort, which really creates this profound opportunity to reimagine the space as something more than it is today and really focus it as a sandy beach destination. We've included a historic graphic on this slide that shows West Beach when it was quite popular around the creation of the harbor or slightly just before. As part of this project, we also did an analysis to understand what our inland flooding risk was from the ocean. This slide shows a series of graphics that show our inland flooding risk today from aerial satellite views. It shows our risk today on the far left, in the middle shows the future with 2.5 feet of sea level rise, and then the far right graphic is 5 feet of sea level rise. Our analysis shows that we have inland flooding risk today from the ocean during really big coastal storms. When you add in sea level rise on top of that, the extent of that inland flooding risk grows, with by the end of the century, there's inland flooding risk all the way up to Highway 101, and in some cases on the other side of that as well. The point is to emphasize that we need some sort of vertical protective measure, something raised above the adjacent grade to prevent water from the ocean from coming in and flooding the inland portions of our city. For this project, we are primarily focused on the paradigm represented in the middle and the left graphic. Namely, we're focused on today's current conditions as well as those in the next 30 to 50 years or so. So taking all of this information into consideration and it's not all doom and gloom. There's certainly a challenge on our hands, but we have a toolbox of proven solutions, and we are exploring that entire toolbox. We are considering hard engineered solutions like seawalls and revetments. We've included graphics that exemplify those, to soft nature-based solutions like beach nourishment, sand berms, and dunes. We've included example photos of those, including our existing dredge operations in the harbor and beach nourishment in front of the yacht club. We're also considering mechanized means to widen the beaches and trap sands through groins, headlands, and artificial reefs. We've included some example graphics of those, including one from an example project in Oceanside, as well as considering relocating and removing development. Each one of these approaches has unique benefits and trade-offs, so it's likely that our eventual approach will include some combination of each of these. What I mean by that is that seawalls and revetments can do a great job of protecting what's directly behind them, but they can also narrow the beach in front of them. Beach nourishment, sand berms, and dunes can do a great job of providing some resilience measures by either restoring or replicating natural processes, but they can also be quickly lost when we have big waves that push those systems out to sea or push them inland.
Can you tell me what a groin is?
Absolutely. I don't know if I can go back with just the clicker. A groin is essentially, it's a vertical element. It's that is perpendicular to the shoreline length. And essentially what happens is because it sticks out, it traps sand that would otherwise move with sediment down the coast and traps in, so it widens the beach a bit. In a lot of ways, that's how our harbor operates. The reason we have the sandy beaches as we know them today is because essentially the harbor sticks out, disrupts the natural sediment movement of sand, and it builds up behind it, which is why we have Ledbetter. It also slows the sand as it wraps around, which is why we have West Beach.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So as part of this project, we are really taking a holistic view when it comes to infrastructure improvement. If we're going to make this massive investment in our waterfront to address all these hazard issues, why not also do it in a way that improves the experience for our users? So in the early portion of last year, we did an outreach exercise that asked our community, hey, what do you love about the waterfront and what can we do better on? The key theme is that we need a safe way to walk, bike, and roll throughout the entire project area. There's a very notable gap in that network today. In the Harbor West and Ledbetter parking lot area, we've included a graphic that shows folks walking during that parking lot directly adjacent to parked cars, and we have this conflict zone. So we plan to address that as part of this work effort. West Beach is a space today that's really not as optimized as it could be. It's challenged by how the storm drain system works. Essentially today it rains, we have pipes that go under Cabrillo Boulevard, and then they outfall below the level of the sand. That create this sort of ponding and compaction issue is included on a graphic here that we've shown that has this condition. What that does is it compacts the sand and makes for not an ideal experience, so we plan to address that. There are certainly great moments and spaces along the waterfront, but there are also some areas that aren't necessarily as welcoming or as connected as they could be, so that's something we plan to tackle as part of this work effort is included in this photo of the parking lot near the boat launch ramp area. We've heard clear demand for additional facilities, everything from boat storage to bathrooms. We've included a photo of a restroom. We see a clear need to enhance economic vitality, both to support our local economy, but also to generate revenue for continued operations of our waterfront, as well as to pay for some of these infrastructure improvements, included a photo of Brophy Bros. Finally, there's a rich heritage of recreational activity along our waterfront. We want to celebrate that. We want to continue that, included as a graphic of the Cabrillo Pavilion. As we talk about solutions, we are primarily focused on those that are multi-benefit. So what we mean by that is if, okay, we're going to add new transportation infrastructure to make it safer to walk, roll, and bike in the Harbor West and Ledbetter parking lot area, why not also design that infrastructure in a way that addresses the hazard risk that we've been experiencing in that same area? So a key idea you'll see introduced and come up regularly in the rest of this presentation is this idea of doing an elevated walking and biking path. The idea is that this would be raised above the adjacent grade. This would provide the resilience and hazard protection we need to prevent water from the ocean from flooding the inland areas, while having that safe transportation function where we have separate space for our users to walk and roll and separately bike. This could include adjacent planted area, adjacent park area, things like that. So now taking this all into consideration and pulling together a preliminary list of options, things we're considering studying further in the next project phase as we start to build towards a recommended solution. It comes down to 4 primary goals that we're trying to accomplish. The first is saving the sandy beach and enhancing recreation. The second is protecting the commercial working harbor in place. The third is protecting inland areas for flooding from the ocean. And the final is providing safe and continuous space for folks to walk, roll, and bike throughout the entire project area, included as an aerial graphic of our project area. We are thinking about 3 types of project categories as part of this work effort. The first are the so-called quick wins. These are low-hanging fruit, relatively low cost, things we would do immediately after plan adoption. This includes things like restriping parking lots, minor drainage improvements, and temporary flood walls. We have photos of each of those examples. The core measures are really the bread and butter primary focus of the work effort, the things that provide hazard protection for at least the 30-year focus of this work effort, and include things like that elevated walking and biking path that I just introduced. We're also considering so-called future options. These are things that aren't necessarily required for the 30-year focus of this work effort, but they could be required later in the century, or things that fundamentally change the dynamics of the coast, things like groins, things like headlands. The way we see this coming together is that the quick wins are stopgap measures while we work on funding, permitting, and ultimately building those core measure projects that will be required regardless of which future options we consider. Today, I'm just going to focus on the quick wins and the core measures for the sake of time. So beginning first at Ledbetter, the vision for this space is all about a sandy beach and recreation destination. Included is a satellite photo of Ledbetter area today. The immediate quick wins here are all about addressing pressing safety and flooding fixes. The first thing is to make it safer to walk, bike, and roll in this area. So one idea is to take the edge of the existing paved area, the area closest to the ocean, and restripe that in a manner that provides separate space for each of those user groups. We've included an example conceptual photo of what that might look like. Also considering temporary deployable floodproofing, we've included an example photo of some sandbags that could be deployed during storm conditions to protect the Shoreline Cafe as well as the Ledbetter restroom. Also considering doing a low flood wall at the edge of the existing paved area to prevent that collapse issue. I highlighted earlier where our parking lots fell into the ocean, included a photo of the West Beach low wall that exists today. Because there's the potential to impact some existing parking by doing this restriping, we're considering expanding the parking lot by capturing some excess space that exists between Shoreline Drive when it comes down the hill and the existing parking lot to provide some replacement parking spaces with the goal of ending up about the same number of spaces in this area that we have today. The potential core measures are all about this idea of saving the sandy beach by strategically moving things inland over time. The existing park area could be converted to sandy beach. We have a photo of a sandy beach area. The paved area behind that could be converted to a park or park-like area that includes space for relocated assets like restrooms and those types of facilities. Behind that could be the elevated walking and biking path that would provide the ultimate line of defense when we have high water levels and big storms while providing that safe transportation function. We've included a conceptual AI photo of that. I want to emphasize that when we're talking about strategic relocation, these things can be done in phases. So things like Shoreline Cafe and the restroom can be moved when they're no longer safe to operate or we have replacement facilities available. We've included a photo of the restroom. Because there's the potential to impact some parking, we're considering consolidating some of that and adding more on the north side of Shoreline Drive, adjacent to Loma Alta, considering taking those existing surface parking lots and doing new multi-story parking garages. Those could include an economic development component, maybe a restaurant on the top, things like that. We've included a photo of the Granada Garage. We've also experienced some stormwater challenges in this area, flooding from when it rains, so we're also looking to improve that as part of this work effort. We've included a precedent graphic.
So wait, can you go back to that?
Yeah.
So in this aerial, you have some diagonals through that area. So are those meant to be removed? Those structures, is that area going to be demolished?
Could you, oh, I got the mouse works, okay. So this area here, the premise would be exploring relocating these facilities, namely Shoreline Cafe and the Ledbetter Restroom, at a point, either one of two scenarios. We've either built replacement facilities that would be inland out of the hazard area and we would just move them to that, or we would keep them in place essentially as long as we can until they're no longer safe to operate, at which point then we would physically move them inland. So the premise is that over time, as sea levels rise, there will be a point when there's water actively hitting these structures, you can't access them, it's not safe, we'll need to move them at least by then.
So is there any plan, I mean, I don't know what the timeline is for when you would get rid of these, but to make the Ledbetter bathroom accessible?
The goal is everything included in this work effort and recommended by this project will be designed for ADA and made sure to be accessible.
I guess I didn't state my question correctly, but currently the Ledbetter bathrooms are not accessible.
Yes.
And so is there a plan to make them accessible in this time period before they get relocated?
I would need to get back to you on that. I believe there was a project in place to do those types of improvements, and then based on some community input, it got put on hold, and I'm not sure of the latest status of that improvement project.
Right, because obviously our group's interest is to make sure that those are accessible, and I know that the can got kicked down the road.
Absolutely.
And so we still have facilities that aren't accessible, and a really key part of, the beach facilities, that's a nice area, so.
On that note, the Shoreline Beach Cafe concession underwent some remodeling in the past, and they failed to meet some ADA path of travel requirements. They've enclosed that whole upper patio without providing accessibility, and that's something that needs to be addressed. I believe there's building code violations there that need to be remedied.
Okay. Thank you for highlighting that.
Also, just to be clear, so when you relocate the restrooms and the Shoreline Cafe, they're still going to be on the beach side of Shoreline Drive, right? You're not going to move them to the north side of Shoreline Drive.
Thank you for the question. We are very early in this process, so we are not to the point where we have physically drawn up full design drawings of where everything will live. I will tell you that there will always be some sort of restroom in and around the Ledbetter area in a way that supports all of the uses and functions that we have today, including ocean swimming, surfing, our users, all of that type of thing. There's not an objective where we would take those restrooms and then have nothing in this area that wouldn't be like by the stadium, for instance. They will always be close. I'm not sure if we look 100 years from now where Shoreline Cafe or similar facility will be located.
Shoreline won't even be there where it is now.
This whole area fundamentally will change over time with continued sea level rise. The fundamental idea is it's taking assets that are in risky hazard areas today and trying to pull them out of those risky hazard areas in a way that saves the sandy beach experience for as long as we possibly can, is the primary thinking behind it.
Am I reading item number 4 correctly? There's a parking lot outlined to the west of Loma Alta. I assumed that belonged to City College, but is that owned by the city of Santa Barbara and the under waterfront?
Thank you for the question. The city owns both of those lots, actually.
Okay.
We have a joint use agreement with Santa Barbara City College for the use of those facilities,
Okay.
but the underlying land is owned by the city.
Okay. And when we talk about potential future multi-story parking structure with a potential top floor concession, it's a pretty attractive but ambitious plan. Are we proposing 2-story, 3-story, 4-story?
Thank you for the question. It's a similar answer in that we haven't gotten to that level of detail yet. The first thing in this entire process is we're really just trying to figure out, we're trying to get a litmus test. Are these ideas worth pursuing further? Like, is this idea in general of a multi-story parking garage on the north side of Shoreline Drive? Is that an idea that seems like it's worth doing technical analysis on, figuring out how much it's going to cost, what the right height is? Or is it not worth pursuing because it's a DOA type idea? So that's the type of feedback we're really trying to get through this process is from a high level, are these concepts generally headed in the right direction? What are we missing?
On that particular one, if I may, I'll give you some direct feedback. I live, if you go up Loma Alta to Miramonte, I live directly above where that photo is. And that parking space sits well below a high rise. You're not obstructing anybody's views, and I know you can't build anything that changes somebody's view. There's no views to change there. It sits in a lowland. You could probably build 5 stories and not have an issue at all, unless you're in the stadium and you want to, watch the people surfing, below the bluff, which they shouldn't be doing anyhow. I think it's an excellent idea to pursue, and I think there are a lot of options that come with that. It's, right now on weekends, they do party roller skating.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a great space, but to put it to constructive, economic use, because this is going to happen. I mean, we're going to lose the beach. It's going to be gone, and we're going to lose Shoreline Drive. That won't be where it is right now. I'm kind of surprised they're doing as much building of the new sports facility just above the stadium, given what your presentation is telling us is going to happen in 30 to 50, 75 years. Because they're building an entire new structure there that's going to be incredible and won't be there in 50 years. So.
Well, yeah, thank you for all those comments. That was one of the reasons why we were considering this area with the multi-story, is we thought it might blend in a little better with the bluff area and not have all those impacts. I think we had some preliminary conversations with Santa Barbara City College actually earlier this week, and because of their new facility, they recommended we do it on the left side of Loma Alta for that reason. The idea with the elevated walking and biking path concept is that that ultimately will provide that last line of defense from the ocean. So assuming we can engineer it correctly, that will prevent the flooding risk to the areas behind it, at least for the 30, 50-year focus of what we design it to. So for this project, it's a period of time and a sea level rise amount that we can largely make the greater waterfront feel very similar than it does today with some changes. You're certainly right that by the end of the century, there are some paradigm shifting decisions that will need to be made.
Yeah, we're anxious to have oceanfront property.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
we're going to be here, maybe our kids.
Yeah.
Can I just backtrack a bit?
Yeah.
You mentioned about restriping the parking lot a little better, create a walkway and bike lane. So when you restripe, is there going to be a gap between the time you create the additional parking from the unused space? Is there going to be a lack of parking in that interim gap before you're able to build the new parking?
Hopefully not. Our goal would be to do it all as one project at the same time. We would need to do permitting for all these things at the same time. There's always some temporary construction disruption, but the objective would be to minimize public access parking impacts. We know how critical that lot is. We're trying to avoid disruption.
And then I assume you're going to be creating any handicap parking spaces that are lost in the restriping. You're going to be adding more, incorporating ones
Absolutely, yes.
in the.
Yes. Yep. And then shifting now to the harbor, where the vision is all about a commercial fishing, recreation, and public access destination. The quick wins here are quite similar to that at Ledbetter, as exploring temporary deployable floodproofing with this example photo of a temporary flood wall in front of strategic locations, shown on the aerial near the gap in the yacht club parking lot, as well as the sort of high-level portion of the marina. Doing minor drainage improvements in the harbor commercial area itself included a photo showing it flooded, and then extending that restriped area with the same precedent photo to provide safe separated space for our users to walk, bike, and roll. The potential core measures here are really all about flood protection while prioritizing public access and boating. A big move here is to explore this idea of a new rock revetment in front of the entire harbor commercial area that would wrap around that harbor commercial area, connect to the breakwater, as well as the area to the left of it. The premise is this would provide that required hazard protection, and on top of that, we would do a new pedestrian promenade that would provide much better accessible access for our users in front of the entire harbor commercial area today. Right now, there's kind of a narrow, squeezed out beach, and you get dumped out at the edge of the breakwater. This would provide a new, safe, and accessible way for our users to have 360 circulation around the entire harbor commercial area itself, which is something we're pretty excited about. We know there's high demand for the limited space within that harbor commercial area, so we're also looking for ways to really maximize boating and public access types uses. We have a photo of commercial fishermen, boats, as well as doing strategic enhancement and raising of the existing walking and biking paths to, again, provide more separation for our users, reduce conflicts between different modes, make it safer, provide that last line of defense from a hazard protection, as well as potentially some economic development in a portion of the harbor main parking lot. This could add new boating facilities, new restaurants, things like that, to provide more economic opportunity and help generate revenues to, again, pay for operations, pay for some of these improvements. At West Beach, the vision is all about this premier sandy beach experience. First thing we need to do is to really address the storm drain challenges. We have a photo of a flap gate, premise being address the issue where the water is pooling and compacting West Beach, potentially consolidate those pipes, relocate it to the base of Stearns Wharf. This would improve the sandy beach experience. We need to add some facilities to really support this idea of taking your family to the beach for a full sandy beach day experience, adding restrooms, showers, a cafe, beach concessions, those types of things, potentially adjacent to the boat launch ramp area. Precedent photos of similar facilities down south. As with our other areas, this idea of an elevated walking and biking path is that last line of defense, provide that safe transportation function. This could also include an adjacent park area, provide a much better connection for our users from the harbor commercial area to Stearns Wharf, lower downtown, lower State Street, things like that. Included an AI precedent photo. Also want to highlight, we intend to retain space for existing storage uses, small boats, things like that. We have an aerial photo showing what's there today. Finally, the last reach, East Beach, included an aerial of its condition today. The vision is similar to that at Ledbetter. It's all about that sandy beach and recreation destination. It's challenged by the highly erosive condition, but the strategy remains the same. Take area that's currently park, convert that to sandy beach. Behind that, have that new elevated walking and biking path to provide the safe transportation function. Last line of defense included photo of sandy beach, AI photo of the elevated path, aerial photo of future conditions. So the question is, where do we go from here? We launched community engagement in March at City Council. We've been to about 10 boards and commissions. I believe we're doing 12 in total. We've been doing pop-ups, community events. We had 3 open houses. We have a community survey online we'd love for you to take. The last step in this outreach process is to go to the Sustainability Council Subcommittee on June 4th. This summer, we will be doing technical analysis and modeling to further develop these concepts and ideas and build towards an ultimate recommendation. We anticipate releasing a draft plan with those, including a funding strategy, implementation pathway, about a year from now in spring 27. We hope to return to City Council at the end of 2027 for final consideration and adoption. Best way to get involved and to learn more is to visit our website, santabarbaraca.gov/waterfront adaptation. We have all of our presentations, all of our materials, a link to the survey, which is also included on this slide at santabarbaraca.gov/waterfront survey. My contact info is included on this slide. I'm available, accessible, always want to chat with anybody who has any ideas on how we can make this the best project we possibly can. Also included a series of questions to help guide this conversation. We highlighted them a little bit earlier, but really what we're looking for is, are we headed generally in the right direction with these high-level concepts? Are there other things that need to be evaluated? What are we missing? What should we be prioritizing? What key questions do you want answered when we do this follow-on technical analysis? And do you have any initial thoughts on timing? Thank you for your time.
I have a
Thank
quick
you.
question. Has there been any discussion or consideration about how a potential deep water port to support cruise ships might play into this?
Through the chair, thank you for the question. That's not something we've considered yet, but we can look into that.
I don't know how viable it is. It's just a thought.
Yeah, we can certainly explore that. There are some offshore elements we're considering right now on the table. Some of the things we've heard, it's doing like kelp forest regeneration project, considering offshore reefs and potentially doing a habitat component. But yeah, we can explore that as another option too. Thank you.
We do have an online comment from Karen Luckett. Karen, you'll have 5 minutes to comment.
Hi, good morning, Access Advisory Committee. I had a couple questions about the waterfront project. Does that include Stearns Wharf and Shoreline? Are you there?
We can
Hello?
hear you. I guess they're preparing to answer.
Okay, my comment about Stearns Wharf is there's a lot of rough hewn boards there, and it's not accessible for wheelchairs or walkers. And I had made these comments during my time on the AAC committee, is that the boardwalk up at Moonstone Beach also had rough hewn, and they used AAC funds to replace the rough hewn boards to make it more accessible for wheelchairs and walkers. And I'm hoping that that can be looked at, like not the whole wharf, but just a section that's like, let's say 32, 36 inches wide where the people walk, to make that area more smoothboard with small seams. The second thing regarding bikes along the waterfront that go up to Shoreline Park, a lot of those bikes think Shoreline Park is, well, let me put it this way, a racetrack for e-bikes. And I'm wondering if there's some kind of little cement bump or rubber bump that they can use from coming from West Beach, that sort of curve into the street. So there's a physical barrier that directs them away from Shoreline Park, where we got people in wheelchairs and walkers walking and exercising, directs the bikes directly into the street so they don't think that they can use Shoreline as their racetrack. And I have been involved in many very aggressive conflicts when I tell them, you need to be in the street, and sometimes they try to physically run me down when I tell them that. So those two things, I wanted to thank the AAC, Brian, and the parks for making Alameda Park more accessible with that nice asphalt walkway, and um, and I'm hoping that we can advertise our parade events to the whole community, to the that needs accessible seating. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
Check yours on.
You can make a comment.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you
Oh,
for the.
Before you answer that, Ken, I also want to add to what she said. Can you elaborate more on how Stearns Wharf is going to be affected by potential 5-foot sea level rise?
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you for the question. So just to quickly talk about the first one. So our project area, Ledbetter Beach to the Clark Estate, Shoreline Park is west of our area and not included beyond considering how the transportation relates to that area. Stearns Wharf is included within our project area. This project itself is a high priority implementation item from the city's 2021 sea level rise adaptation plan that took a longer view look at sea level rise impacts for our city, for our entire city. One of the findings from that is Stearns Wharf itself actually does okay with a fair amount of sea level rise for a pretty long time because it's elevated on piers above the ocean. Its bigger risk is really big wave events, which it gets a little more risky with higher water levels, but it doesn't change that much from a risk profile. Realistically, all wharfs in California are at risk today. This is exemplified by our insurance doubling, I think, twice now. So sea level rise certainly is related, but it doesn't change the fundamental risk profile of our wharf, which is big waves, and that risk exists today. Our current approach to management is what we anticipate continuing, which is essentially when we have high wave events, we reduce access. We try and make sure people aren't in the risky hazard area when we have the big waves. Yep. And then to address the other
Yeah.
public comments, thank you for raising those. In terms of ADA improvements to the wharf itself, that's something we can consider and explore. We are certainly looking in any and all opportunities to make it safer for all of our users to travel through this area and reduce conflicts between walkers, rollers, and bikers. So we can explore that idea of where they go and how those are redirected, providing more separation as they come from West Beach towards Shoreline. Those are all great comments that we can consider. Did I miss anything?
All right, then, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I have a last question about West Beach. I know these are early days, but is it possible to add something when you're developing West Beach, to add something to differentiate it from East Beach and Ledbetter, like, for example, an art walk with like sculptures next to the walking path, or a garden or a playground, or accessible playground or something? So an additional feature there to make it a premier destination, or like a meditation garden or something like that. And also, I would love to see when it comes time to develop a beach access mat from the point of path of travel down to the water there on West Beach too.
I think those are all fantastic comments. We've had some preliminary conversations with some of our members in the Chumash community, and one idea was to do some of these art type things. We can have educational materials, sculptures, art that tells that Chumash history, those Chumash voices. So we can, that certainly come up there in other places. We can certainly look into that more and make it unique. I think it's a great idea of having the accessible path of travel mapped out. We can certainly do that as part of this project. Thank you.
So are there any other comments by members? No, all right, so we are a little bit behind. Thank you so
The
much.
only other thing I just want to quickly add is we anticipate returning to you in about a year when we have that draft plan. So that'll be the next major opportunity. And we'd love for you to take our survey if you haven't already. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so do we want to quickly do the ADA coordinators report and then take a 5-minute break to try to make up the time that we're over? All
That works for me.
right,
Yeah, I can be quick on the ADA coordinator report. Just one thing I wanted to hit on was just an update on web accessibility. You may have seen that there was this requirement that was looming. I think it was either like a May 1st or June 1st, 2026 date that all agencies were expected to have everything online, all of the documents be accessible. And the Department of Justice extended that deadline by 1 year. I think probably their own web page needed a lot of work, so they extended it for their own benefit. But the city of Santa Barbara was doing a lot of work in expectation of that date. And we have all staff highly, I don't know if it's required, but it's highly recommended for all staff to be attending these trainings that are being put on by our own IT department. Vince Wong, he's been doing trainings. I attended it myself. People were asking me, why are you spending 4 hours in this training? And I said, well, I'm the ADA coordinator. It's kind of important. But that was very enlightening, attending that training. Just, you think just because you have a PDF that, and the format appears to be readable, that it should be fine for somebody who has a computer, who has a device, a screen reader, whatever it might be. But there's a lot of complexity, and I don't know if we've made it more complex than it needs to be, but the way Word is set up with the styles and everything, and then when you convert from Word to PDF, there's a lot of detail involved in getting that right. You hope that some of these AI tools that are coming online will be able to make staff's life easier in this regard, but we're not counting on that, and it's a lot of work. But I'm thankful that I attended that training. Staff are going to these trainings. What our goal is right now that we have this extra year, is to make sure that any new documents that we're putting online is going to meet the web accessibility requirements. And then we do have to reconcile a lot of history of documents that are online and figure out how to migrate those to current standards. But just wanted to let you all know that there's a lot of work happening in that regard. I know we have had staff come in and present on that. I don't know if there's interest in getting an update from the IT team, but.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just about to make that suggestion, is that it would be great, I don't know if Vince is incredible in terms of just how he presents, and he knows his stuff really well.
He sure does.
But, along with what Barbara was suggesting in the conversation that we had when we met on Wednesday, of the Santa Barbara Connect and people wanting to be able to report accessibility issues, is somehow, if we could have a presentation about IT to be able to communicate what community members are experiencing in terms of inability to get the information to the right department so that city is aware of what, what's needed.
The Santa Barbara Connect system is not as good as the system that was there right before when they had fixed the website. And yeah, I meant to talk to Scott about it. But,
Yeah, so that would be a wonderful thing to try to arrange. And so, again, to be able to communicate issues that members of the community are facing in terms of trying to reach out to the city and make them aware of, a bump in the road or something that's not working. So, thank you.
Sure.
Does anyone
Yeah,
have
I
any
would love
comments?
that too, thank you.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any comments on the 88 coordinators? All right, so then let's just take a 5-minute break so that we can try to catch up, and then we will have our committee reports and then the transition plan update. Do we have anything from sidewalk? I know we didn't meet, so we wouldn't have any.
Well, I talked to Derek, and I have a report that Nick's going to read.
Okay.
So I have a report from Jim via Derek. Bullet item number 1, FY 23C project is now complete. That project included over 100 ramps and sidewalk repairs in the Mesa, West Side, and San Roque neighborhoods. Bullet item number 2, the FY 25C project is nearing completion. Project includes 60 ramps and sidewalk repair, mostly in the Upper East neighborhood. Bullet item number 3, after FY 25C project is complete, there are no other ramp or sidewalk repair projects planned as part of routing maintenance due to budget cuts. The only projects moving forward will be associated with grant-funded projects.
So that would be like Cliff Drive, Vision,
I don't have an answer. I don't know.
yeah.
So what item was that?
Item number 3,
Number 3. All right, so I'll check with Derek and get back to you, Skylar.
Yeah.
Okay.
item number 4 is Anacapa Street will be repaved starting next week. Most of the work will be night work. The non-compliant ramps at Carrillo Street, Figueroa Street, and Anapamu Street were reconstructed earlier this year. There are also non-compliant ramps at Canon Perdido, De La Guerra, Ortega, and Coda Street, and those will be rebuilt as part of the grant-funded traffic signal safety upgrades projects in a few years. It's important to use grant funding where possible, especially for locations with traffic signals, because those ramps tend to be complicated and expensive. The other grant-funded projects on Milpas and Cliff are in final design and will hopefully go out to bid by the end of summer. Maybe that answers your question, Skylar.
Right.
Does that answer the question?
I think so, yeah. Just-
Thanks,
So it
Nick.
sounds like Cliff Drive is a grant funded.
Okay. All right, so then do we have a parking ad hoc committee?
I have nothing to report.
All right, the outdoor dining and State Street.
All I can say is we finally got the Daisy Restaurant to get rid of one of their benches, and it's now got accessible seating there.
Yeah. See, and again, that all has to do with communication. Someone being able to get to the city that information so someone can make that change. So those are the steps that we're trying to make easier for members of the public to get that information to the, you know, who's able to fix this. So thank you so much for all of those, for all that work. All right, the recognition nomination ad hoc, I don't think you guys have met, and when is that, the date that we need to have that information by?
I think we normally, I want to say it's like a late summer, early fall that we're at council.
Yes.
So yeah, this is kind of good time to be talking about nominations.
Right. I have a nomination. I had also, this ad hoc committee report at the last quarterly meeting, I recommended that people bring their nominations to this meeting. And to that end, I would like to recommend the, and now I'm drawing a blank, I just spoke about him
Santa Barbara
earlier.
Film Festival?
What's that?
Santa Barbara Film Festival?
No, I was thinking of the naturetracks.org that I'd like to recognize for their effort to make our city's outdoor space more accessible.
All right, so we have Nature Tracks as a nominee, and I think we had talked about this early on when the film festival was working on updates to the Fiesta 5. So I mean, I would recommend them just for the amount of work and energy they put into that. All right, does anyone else have any recommendations? And if so, if you want to think about it and send that information via email or bring that up at the next meeting.
Yeah, I can send an email like I've done in the past to committee. If we're going to do this special meeting in June, that'll be an opportunity. We could put just a quick hit item because it doesn't have to be isolated, I don't think, just to the State Street item. We can include this because I think we'd want to do that before, let's see, the next meeting would be, the next regularly scheduled AAC meeting would be in August, so that might be too late to finalize the nominations.
All right.
That's my fear. I'm feeling remiss that I didn't ask that this be agendized for discussion and an action today. Is there any problem with taking action on these recommendations?
Well, we didn't put it on as an agenda. I would recommend that we try to do this as part of the June special
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
All right, we'll kick that can to the,
And speaking of Nature Track, can someone follow through on why Parks and Rec said it wasn't needed?
Yeah,
I'm just
I don't. They didn't want to make a big deal of. They didn't want to be fussing at parks. They want to continue to cultivate a positive relationship moving forward. So let's not focus on the past. Let's.
Okay.
no, and it also might be, I mean, it takes an organization of this size time to plan for it. So I don't know how much, I guess ahead of time they met. I mean, if it's 1 week before the summer camps, then obviously that's too hard to coordinate. But
Yeah, I don't know who they spoke to. I just it sounded very unfortunate, and I'd like to help foster a better rapport moving forward.
Okay. All right, special events ad hoc committee. Mike, do you have anything?
I don't have anything, but I know that the question just raised by Jim, and we'll discuss it.
Right.
Parking, seating, both covered and/or raised, and ADA compliant porta potties all need to be located, in the same area. It's got parking or drop off, for handicapped vehicles and/or vans. But we want it. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Tom. We would like, people that need that accommodation to be able to, have it all in one location rather than, an area designated for parking, and then how do they get to where the seating is if it's not located right there? And then how do they get from wherever that seating is to the ADA compliant restrooms if it's not located right there? So really, what are those appropriate locations? And I know Elizabeth, I guess, has a map from,
I think-
was it your daughter?
No, my niece.
Niece, and-
She's involved with a lot of the Solstice Parade, Earth Day, and those kinds of things. So she did meet with the city, and so they do have a plan of where it's going to be located. And I just texted her to see if she could send me something, but I know that they have made arrangements. And so what I'll do is once I get this map, is then send it out to everyone so that you can take a look and have input as to, does this make sense? And
When is the next citywide parade festival event? Will it be before or after our June meeting?
Yeah, well, we just had the Earth Day, so it would be solstice, I think would
Solstice,
be
right.
next month.
Yeah, so, the email that I sent out on my own was to the different organizations about Solstice Parade and who wanted to participate.
Right.
And so I've had some groups say yes for certain. And so again, there is an allocated space and I wanted to make sure we had enough space. And so we're kind of keeping a people count to see, what organizations are committed to coming and what that means. And again, knowing that we need porta potties, we need parking, and so all of those are being worked on.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
Right. The ADA Transition Ad Hoc Committee,
No, we haven't met.
okay,
Talked to Craig recently, and I just want to make sure that they all realize that I think at our last two meetings, we said that the path of travel should be the main priority.
okay.
I'll wait for Kay's.
Right. So I don't have anything on the police station. My life's been a little complicated lately, but it's getting better. All right, so number 10, ADA,
Before we move on, I would like to request to create a new accessible tourism ad hoc.
oh, okay.
That's the request.
Is there a need to have a motion for that? No.
I think when I've talked to staff in the past, they've said that it is best,
Okay.
just so that it is documented that the committee
All right.
took an action.
Can
Yeah.
we take that action if it's not agendized?
I think that's okay for something like that.
Okay,
I support that idea to have a,
yeah.
So I'll make a motion to create an accessible tourism ad hoc committee with members Barbara Chen and
Okay, I'll be on it.
Elizabeth Sorgman and
Fine. I'm on every other ad hoc.
Yeah, I can.
That's too
I
many.
did hear, I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this in a meeting because Suzanne's not here, but Suzanne did tell me a few weeks back that she would be interested.
and
but she's not
Suzanne
here to-
Dahada, given her prior expressed interest.
Yeah.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have to have 3, correct?
You have
We
3.
can't have more than 3. I think we had 5 volunteers or 4.
No, you have 3.
Okay,
You have Barbara, Elizabeth, and Susan.
okay. Skylar and I both chimed in as willing participants, but I will withdraw.
And Barbara, I just want to.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
I mean,
I wanted to make sure you understand, you can get people from the outside the committee, so if you want to talk to accessible tourism people or.
The
or visit
travel
center, or you
agency.
can get other people involved in the
Yeah.
ad hoc. Okay.
thank you.
All right, so do we need a second for that?
I second it.
All right, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No, any against?
Oh, aye.
All
I'm
right,
for.
all right, that passes then. Thank you, Barbara, for that suggestion. All right, so we're on to the ADA transition plan update.
All right, I will hand that one over to Craig.
Thank you, Chair Sorgman, Vice Chair Marston, and committee. And Barbara, we haven't met in person yet, I don't think. I wasn't at the last.
It's very nice to meet you.
So nice to see you and meet you as well. So I want to just go through some kind of administrative things at first, and then we can talk about implementation and projects second. So in the last few months, I've spent a large amount of time, frankly, most of my time, on completing the library compilation. As you may or may not know, the 2007 plan had a mixture of sort of hard copy, pre-digital age binders, and some digital files were scanned in the interim process before my time. But I'm happy to report at this hearing today that process is complete. It's completely digitized, and the library is complete. Frankly, previous versions it wasn't incomplete, but they were in different places. So now we've got a complete library in one location that's fully usable for all of staff's use. Very happy to see that
Thank you.
happen.
Can the public see it, or can we see it?
Yes, I need to update the public-facing portion. There is a as you're aware, the city has the accessibility website with links to the transition plan, and that doesn't have some items. Some items are not really publicly available at this point because they're not complete. For example, some surveys, some internal surveys that we need to finish, surveys that were provided by the maker of the generator of the original plan. So there are still some documents that are not completely available to the public, but they will be eventually.
Okay. Just let us know, and congratulations on getting it all done.
So wait, I just want to clarify. When you said library, I actually thought the physical library, and I'm like,
Oh,
so you mean the library?
I did that too.
You mean the archived transition plans, all of the
The
paperwork?
reports. Right.
Related to accessibility. You've been able to put
Right.
that library together, so
Right.
now, okay.
So since I've been on board here, we've mostly focused on the 9 priority sites, which is appropriate. So, they're a priority. But there are hundreds of, frankly, other sites that fall under what we call the general evaluations. They weren't as in detailed surveys like these 9 sites were. So I was able to grab the rest of them as basically in a nutshell, and put those all in a place that can be updated, analyzed, implemented, et cetera. So I think it will be very useful going forward. And I have an example I'm going to get to here in a second.
Okay.
I want to make a quick comment. I'm so glad you did this. A lot of times we find out that the city departments are doing work without checking the transition plan to see what's there. And this, to me, is wonderful, that you're going to say, hey, before you do anything, check and see where your project is located and see what it says here that you must do.
To our own detriment, frankly, because there's a lot of work that's been done that we just haven't reported or,
Right.
Been given credit for lack of a better phrase. And in fact, I'll just get to the example. So Bonet Park is a general site. It's not one of the priority sites. I converted that report into the spreadsheet just like I did for the 9 sites, just as an example. There are 62 items on that list. That's a lot, frankly. Well, the 2019 projects, there was a park remodel and the restroom remodel, 2 different projects. Bonet Park, to my knowledge, has completely addressed every item from that 2007 survey, which is great news, but no one ever, to my knowledge, reported that happened. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of thing that I saw in finishing and compiling this library. There are, I think, dozens more examples of that exact type of thing, especially with parks. All of the projects that they typically do address at some or all of transition plan items as part of those. Kevin Strasberg, for example, has done 10 restrooms over the years. Every one of those restrooms is in the transition plan. So it wasn't necessarily reported here, but those types of things have been completed. And I think the picture is a lot better than we previously knew as far as percentage complete of the transition plan overall.
I would think especially if the incomplete information is information about what's been accomplished.
Right.
Then
Yeah.
This is great news, and it came up, you probably heard it came up Wednesday at the ad hoc meeting with Parks, and I'm just wondering how this work effort can be used as a model to help educate the broader efforts, the cross-department construction efforts, so that we don't have overlooked transition plan obligations during major renovations.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's waterfront, airport,
Yep.
fire, police, all of the departments.
So how can we take away from this experience, this knowledge, and present some materials or create some materials to educate staff on the importance to make sure that we don't continue to overlook the transition plan items. That's a, what can we take from this and bring to the fore and disseminate widely to mitigate future occurrences.
Well, let me just.
I'll defer to Brian.
I just want to say one comment too, for the other board members we had an ad hoc meeting with Brian and with Jill Zachary just to talk about the process that Parks and Rec specifically takes. And it ended up that there are lots of departments that are doing projects. And so some of the discussions had to just trying to figure out exactly what Nick is saying is that how does the city do a better job of alerting the departments as to the fact that we've got information about accessibility? And what are the triggers that would then require something to be brought up in terms of current codes? And I think really trying to emphasize that a like-for-like project doesn't mean that you don't need a building permit. And I did look up the Shoreline Park, the playground. It was done in 2017, and they completely changed one of the play structures. I mean, they didn't fix it. They removed it and replaced it. That would have triggered a building permit. It would have triggered accessible route. And I'm not saying that that wasn't done. I mean, there is no building permit for that. But it would have been another set of eyes looking at the route, looking at, playgrounds are difficult in terms of safety zones, head entrapment, accessibility. Do we have enough features? There's percentages required by code in terms of kinds of emotions and that play structure provides that needs to be 50% accessible. And so those are the things that get missed. And it could be that it really is. I'm not sure because I've not gone to review it. But this is great that now you can get this word out to other departments to say this is kind of the guide of where some of these items have been identified, and how do we get departments to know that get rid of the like for like. There's no such thing unless you're changing, the swing, one swing, and you're changing the chains. I mean, that's maintenance. But when you remove an entire playground structure and replace it, that's a permit. So.
Sure. Brian, let me butt in. You were going to prepare some kind of document about this after our meeting with Jill, and I just think that it'd be nice in your whatever document you're going to do is to have a request that they please check the new digital library and make sure they check.
Right, yeah, so obviously, I mean, this item's to talk about the transition plan, so not going to get into too much on this other thing with the process, but definitely an item that I'm committed to working on. But it definitely dovetails into this transition plan discussion, and having updated and easily accessible information is going to be huge. This information that we had was scattered across so many different documents in formats that were not helpful for anyone. That's part of why it was created, and then it sat there. And then we went ahead and we did all these different projects, never either giving ourselves credit for what we did do or checking to make sure, hey, while we're there, why not do the couple of extra things to finish some element of the transition plan for that building or that area. It's going to be a whole lot easier, but I think the important thing now is Craig's done a lot of the behind-the-scenes hard work to compile this all together. Now we've got to get the word out to staff, and it's not just the staff who are working on the projects, it's staff in building and safety, staff in other places, just so that they can go and cross-reference and make sure, because the more eyes that are on things, the better chance we're going to get it right during design. And then, of course, there's a whole other thing to make sure that it's right in construction. There's a lot of opportunities to have things turn out, I guess, not as planned. So I'm wanting to encourage more eyes on things because I think that gives us the best chance of success.
It may be helpful to have some kind of communication to the various department heads not only asking, but encouraging them to review what's there, and if they are aware of additional corrections, repairs, enhancements that have been made but are not noted, to share that so that it can be a more robust and complete library or repository of that information. Just make it much more useful if these other departments, like this small park that Craig mentioned, found out these other projects had a lot more ADA transition work done than we're even aware of. I just can't imagine not having that from the airport, from the harbor, from, other than, one park, great, but let's get the rest of it. And that's communication. That's just a request, or, whoever has the authority, give them a deadline. We need you to review by thus and such a date and report on all completed projects, in accordance with the, prior or current ADA transition plan. And you send that out and you give them a deadline, and they got to do it. Then you get your information. Now you'll complete that library.
I think I've mentioned this in previous meetings, but I think there should be some credit for the city having created this position. This is not self-congratulatory, but the fact that they created a principal architect to carry out and implement this type of this transition plan. It's almost a full-time job in and of itself. So,
Agreed.
I think whatever improvements that you've all mentioned, that there have been some, probably are just a result of that, of creating that position and creating the organizational structure that's needed, which is no criticism of any staff of the past, by the way. But I can tell you, I've been here 2.5 years, and it's taken all of that time just to simply digest the plan itself. It's a massive document with 400 and some odd facilities that are affected that need to be addressed in one way or another. So, but anyway, I think we're making headway here. So we'll keep, we'll update the policies and procedures and distribute those to staff. That was always part of the plan here. But the first order of business was just to sort of see what we're up against and then proceed and implement.
To that point, Brian, you do an annual update to council on the ADA transition plan, and I think it might be appropriate for council to hear from the AAC just how happy we are with the creation of the position and the amount of work that has been done.
Rather than amount of work, I'd talk about the progress made.
Yeah, and how much more there is to do, right? I don't want them to think that we're in the clear, but
It's all over.
yeah, we're very pleased with this direction, and we hope to have their continued support.
Yeah, I think that would be a great item for the annual report. I think I've probably given high-level
Yeah.
updates on transition plan. I think we could get into a little bit more detail this time around, and I think it would be a good opportunity for them to hear, not just from me, but maybe have Craig come to that meeting, and members of the committee could also be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When is the date for that?
We don't have a date. I want to say that typically it's been in like September or October, so that would be the rough time frame. And it could be sooner, but I think that's usually where it ends up sliding to.
Yeah,
right, so
my
just-
recollection is we always aim for August, but it gets pushed out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so just let us know ahead of time so we can prepare something. Thank you.
Okay, just a quick update on the statistics. I think last time we had reported 1,900 and something completed items out of the 3,600 or so, creeping up closer to 2,000 at this point. Some of that, frankly, is just catching items that we didn't previously note as completed. But Megan Salas here in the audience is our facilities maintenance manager. And her team is actually undertaking transition plan items, sort of call it self-performing the work as opposed to hiring contractors in some cases. And there are literally dozens of items that they've addressed in the recent months, door hardware being one of those items, whether it's operators and, correcting the operation, but also replacing knob hardware with lever style hardware, that type of thing. So, and those are all in the transition plan. Those are all items. And she and I are actually working together closely on what else possibly facilities maintenance can self-perform. There are, if you go through the transition plan, you might be amazed at some of the minor items that are in there. Floor mat removal is one thing. Tree branches that happen to be a little too low that are crossing a walkway within the site. Filling in decomposed granite at tree wells. There's a lot of minor things that we may be able to do as a team here. But Megan has done a great job of implementing a graphic communication tool. We call it Cartograph. And that allows her to digitally locate items to be maintained or repaired throughout the city, all the facilities. And that is, we're linking that to the transition plan spreadsheet so that when something gets completed, it gets checked off. And so that's a good example of what we were just talking about cross-departmental coordination. And I think that's going to yield a lot of checking off of items in the near future. Things that we had previously identified as, quote, bid packages, I think will get handled in that way nicely.
On that note, I don't know if it's already on the maintenance team's radar, but if it's not, it would be good to be aware that maintenance staff, and it's not just in the city, it's everywhere. Frequently, waste bins get put in the strike side clearance area, and janitorial staff are not aware of the problem it causes, and we need to make them aware.
It's, we actually, one of the bid packages is called Building Equipment Relocation. And it's waste baskets, copy machines, file cabinets.
Yeah.
That's strewn throughout the transition plan. Yeah. And we're trying to address those as quickly as possible.
Great.
Can I get clarification? How many items are on that list, did you say?
3,567.
And
That's for the 9 priority locations,
yes.
right?
okay, so that's what I was going to get. These are just the 9. That doesn't include the other how many facilities?
393.
Okay, all right. So
The
these
city has about 400
structures.
properties,
Okay.
facilities, however you want to define it.
All right, so of the 3,567 in the priority projects, about 2,000 plus or minus have been completed.
Yeah.
Okay,
That we know of. We're still back checking,
Right,
so
right.
hopefully more.
okay.
Yeah. So then, in upcoming projects that we're tracking, well, currently, I should say, Plaza Veracruz building, the community building there is being currently remodeled. That went through a full accessibility plan check review and inspection process, and happy to say I don't see any issues. There's complete path of travel from the right of way, the entry to the building, the restrooms, signage, directional, it's all compliant. So
Where's Plaza Veracruz?
on Ortega, right across from the new police station.
Okay.
Go with the,
Yeah,
High-rise
that's on the
square
other side on Haley.
trapeze.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Or is it Coda? Coda or Haley?
I think it's Coda.
Yeah, Coda, sorry.
Coda and Haley, because it
Yes,
goes
yeah,
from one end to
right,
the other.
right.
Yeah.
Sorry. The Harbor Way Path of Travel project, I think we mentioned that in the past, the new sidewalk that would go on the frontage of the Coast Guard building is very near permit. We're in hopefully the last round of plan check corrections now. That'll create not only accessible, but just life safety, frankly. You know, you won't be walking in the drive aisle anymore. There will be an actual walkway.
Now, where is the Harbor Way? I mean,
It's just the main turnoff off of Shoreline that goes all the way back to the Waterfront Administration Building or the Yacht Club.
oh, okay, okay,
Yeah, that whole parking lot is Harbor Way.
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I ask, I don't recall
It's
the,
needed. Yeah.
the list of priority locations, but I assume that the Stearns Wharf is on the transition plan at some level?
Oh, absolutely. The waterfront has its own transition plan
Okay.
that was done in 2018,
Okay.
and Stearns Wharf is definitely part of that.
And it's come up a couple times, it came up today.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in pursuing, making the path of travel to the boardwalk, to the Stearns Wharf from the public right-of-way and all the way out to the end, more compliant than it is today. And I wonder if you might report back at a future meeting about what the plan is for that and when it might be budgeted. And
So, sorry, Nick, can you clarify the concern was path
so,
of travel?
yeah, the boardwalk is very rough-hewn boards with large gaps.
Sure.
Creates a much bigger problem for manual wheelchairs with small casters than it does for my vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
But even for my vehicle, it's very uncomfortable to traverse the boardwalk or the pier.
Sure.
And I feel like there's likely some opportunities, relatively low cost opportunities to create a tighter pedestrian pathway
Okay.
to facilitate better accessibility.
Understood.
And I wonder where that is on the transition plan, if it is. It's got to be. It's got to be the highest priority thing for the pier to get to it. You know, how the waterfront is progressing on that and where it might be prioritized and funded.
I've also been hearing from people, just privately, that the walkway on Stearns Wharf is really challenging and not accessible if you're in a wheelchair or a walker, or if you have mobility issues. There's also a danger sign there, right at the front, which isn't really ideal.
There's a danger sign?
There's a danger sign. I wrote it down. And
I mean, like you're going to fall in the water or you're going to get run over by a car?
no, for
think
the
both have happened.
for the walkway.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, there's a danger sign. Hold on. It says, caution, bare feet and high heel shoes are dangerous. Watch for nails, splinters, uneven deck, and gaps between planks. That's referring to the walkway,
Wow.
right at the front. So
I mean, isn't that
I
just
would
a
like-
liability for the city in general to have that kind of sign up?
I mean, yeah,
It's intended to.
I would love to see, personally, I would love to see the walkway leveled out so it's safer because it's dangerous not just for people with disabilities, but also regular people who, like, if a woman in high-heeled shoes is really walking there, you know, something could happen to regular people too.
We're all regular.
I mean,
right,
you know what I
yeah.
mean, you know, I mean. And so, I mean, I've been hearing that from the community.
I mean, I'm wondering if there's some, I mean, at minimum, you know, accessible route has to be 4 feet. I mean, is there any way to put some kind of
Stripping or something.
strip,
yeah.
you know, of some sort that behaves well
Yeah.
with water?
I know there's a pedestrian bike bridge out by the airport that's actually on city property that goes out towards Goleta Beach. And we put down like a rubber kind of mat to kind of even out the roughness of the boards and if there's any unevenness between one board to the next. That helped. I don't know how that, if that would work in a situation like this. Yeah, we can look at some options, because I think there's, those are significant boards that we're talking about. They're probably like 8 by 12s. So, and of quite, the length, it would be more expensive to replace the boards with something smoother, and I don't know how long that would last as opposed to a
Overlay.
different surface. Yeah,
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 a finish surface,
right.
yeah.
Flat surface.
Right, flat, smooth.
Firm, stable, and slip
Accessible.
resistant.
And not fiber.
What's the product that's used on playgrounds? It's
Fiber.
no,
Oh.
no, the compliant product that is
Oh, the
kind
rubberized
of
mat?
rubberized mat, that it's a recycled material that's
Yeah.
poured.
Right.
That's what I'm imagining. Or, a more finished deck overlay. I don't know. There may be too much movement in the
Yeah.
pier for that. Might be a little challenge in isolating the movement. I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I want to know.
All right, well, maybe we can come back at the next meeting with some update on that. Right.
Absolutely. I've noted it here.
Okay.
Sure.
So do you have a timeline for when your bid packages are going to go out, or what?
Well,
What next, what is next on the transition plan?
I was actually wanting to, yes, is a short answer, but I think I need some further direction in an ad hoc condition. These previous ad hocs were incredibly helpful for prioritizing, but I think there is some more specificity that I think is needed. We got some great examples recently of specific sites with specific issues, and rather than me sort of scattershotting bid packages that I think would address items, I'd like to hear if that's, if there are specific items and we can tailor the bid packages to those specific items. Bang for the buck is the, the key here, to try to focus our energies on the proper projects. So
Right. I think that's a great idea. If you can meet with the ad hoc committees and then come back to the total committee to say, these are the things that we discussed were priorities in terms of what elements, and again, the most you can get, the most value that you can get and spread it across, that would be great. So
Yeah.
that's a good recommendation.
So let's, I don't know if we need to set the day here, but let's say in the next few weeks, if we can do another ad hoc, that'd be very helpful. And after that, I think we can really take and run with some things.
All right, so if you want to send an email out to the members that are on that committee, and then you can, determine what makes sense. My only comment, I think, at the last meeting was path of travel, because it doesn't make any sense to be able to update something if a person can't get into that facility.
Right.
So,
And
all
then
right.
I'll have the maps and the sites, and we can navigate, make it a working session and come away with something tangible.
All right, that sounds
Craig, you said
good.
a couple of weeks. I won't be back till June 2nd, so.
That'd be fine. Well, let's say that first part of June. That'd be great. I'll send out a request.
Okay,
And I like all this stuff that you're finding out that has been fixed that we didn't know about. As Brian knows, for years, I've complained about the transition plan, but also said, you guys aren't even bragging about what you're fixing.
Right.
So to me, this is a nice thing, and we heard this from Jill Zachary just Wednesday.
Yeah.
How come you guys don't thank us for fixing stuff? Well, that isn't our job, but
Sounds like Jill.
But it's nice to know, and I don't know how to publicize this, but if all this stuff's being done, we should let the people know, or at least say thank you, city. But anyway.
Sure.
I'm glad you got that list now, so now we know.
right. And I just want to also, again, repeat, Barbara made a really good connection with that organization that is a travel agency that specifically deals with accessibility. And so maybe somehow we can connect and get that information to them so that they could publicize, hey, these are the features that Santa Barbara offers. We'll have what's Gwendolyn Park?
Yeah.
That's going to be totally accessible, that Cabrillo center that has the boardwalk so that they can advertise. Because again, our city is all about visitors coming to come,
Yeah, maybe we could arrange a meeting
Yeah.
with them?
Yeah, and I think, if they could, I don't know what their mailing list is, but get that information out. If we can, I wonder if there's some way for this committee to maybe call the TV stations and go to Bonnet Park and say, hey, these are the things that the city's done. We want members of the public to know that this, that these projects are being undertaken and these are all really great things.
And also maybe visit Santa Barbara?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So that, again, we get the word out and that the city gets credit for the things that it has done. And you're totally correct. When I started working here, there were things everywhere, and building department didn't know that they were there.
Right.
And it was only from a few questions, then all of a sudden we realized, oh, wait, all of this information is there. We only knew about the 9 priority sites, and then later learned that there was this whole other library. So that's a really important and a huge project to have accomplished, so thank you. But again, there's probably a lot of things that have been accomplished and completed because really no one was in charge of tracking that.
Right.
And so, those are all kudos to the city for having put the time and energy into that.
Sounds like a report John Palminteri should be doing.
Yeah, I'll
Maybe.
try to call up and, if you can, maybe you can shoot me some emails of the projects that you've discovered have, really accomplished what they're supposed to. So have a TV reporter come and take a look at, hey, this is what's being accomplished. We need community input if there's other things that need to be done. And we could tie it into the original presentation that was made by the Parks Master Plan to say, this is currently underway. The community needs to let the city know what areas, what parks are, important to the community so that we can make this inclusive.
Great. Yep.
Okay.
So that's kind of all I had today, unless there's any questions. But also, I don't think I've done this before, but I wanted to thank the committee. The amount of time that you folks put in is a real asset to the community. I know this is all volunteer work, so thank you very much for your time. It's been incredibly helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, does anyone else have any comments? Members of the public up there? Anything else? All right, so then we adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much.